you don't want girls to have to go through what many of us went through. Why?
I mean, because periods make human life possible.
Yes.
It's potentially one of the most natural biological processes of life, and yet history and society has built up this stigma that makes menstruators feel so ashamed.
We now have a new category of people, menstruators. Yes, according to the CEO of a period product company, it's not women only who menstruate. No, you have menstruators. This is completely absurd. This is the craziness that happens when you remove God from culture, from society. You lose your complete mind. It talks about that in Romans chapter 1, how God has given them over to a reprobate, to a debased mind. People's minds are crazy. Listen to this interview by this CEO whose base of customers are women, but instead of referring to them as women, she calls them menstruators.
But this is what you say. You say August is, the aim is to reimagine and redefine the period experience to be powerful and dignified. And to that, I say to you, Nadia, where were you when I was 11? When I first got my period, my mom was away. My grandmother was babysitting, and I went to her. I said, I don't even know what's happening. Number one, the color is, you even discuss about the color. I didn't know what that was in my panties.
Man, all this was discussed on a morning show? Man, Gail, you gave people too many details.
And she said, oh, you have to wait till your mother comes home. And I thought, am I dying? What is happening here? Because back then it was not discussed. And you don't want girls to have to go through what many of us went through. Why?
I mean, because periods make human life possible.
Yes.
It's potentially one of the most natural biological processes of life, and yet history and society has built up this stigma that makes menstruators feel so ashamed.
Yeah.
What? Menstruators? No, women. And as a husband and a father of a daughter, this is what causes people to get so upset with this whole transgender agenda and this want to be affirming and accepting. No. In the beginning, he made them male and female. Only women have periods. Only women menstruate. Let me say it louder for those in the back. Only women menstruate. Men do not have periods. Quote unquote, trans men are just women. Men do not have periods. Men do not have the bodily anatomy to have a period. Had to say it loud for the people in the back that sometimes have a hard case of hearing.
Yes.
It makes us feel like there's something wrong with our bodies. We're taught that period blood is this contaminable, like disgusting
Dirty,
thing,
nasty,
dirty.
yes.
And I think that it always breaks my heart to hear so many stories every day of young menstruators who get their period and have never heard about it,
Yes.
right?
Young menstruators? You mean young women? I don't know how in the world this woman expects to sell her business by disparaging her customer base and calling them menstruators.
Because suddenly you think you're bleeding out. A lot of people think that they pooped themselves because period
Yes.
blood can be brown and they don't know that.
Yes.
And period blood isn't just liquid too, it can be clot. So we hear stories regularly of people thinking that like a piece of their heart came out.
Oh
It's
my
just,
gosh.
it can be so scary if you don't know the details of it.
So what did you think? I'm going to do what?
Well, so I got into this almost 10 years ago. Next year's my 10-year work anniversary.
And you're 25.
I'm 25, but when I was 16, I learned about period poverty through conversations I had with homeless women and my own research, and heard these stories of people using things like toilet paper, brown paper grocery bags, cardboard to take care of their periods. And at the time in 2014, 40 states in the US had the tampon tax, which is a sales tax on period products.
Wow. Now that right there, a tampon tax. Interesting. I never heard of that. I might have to do some research into that.
Considering them luxury items, like non-essential goods.
Yes.
But products like Rogaine and Viagra are considered medical necessities.
Ah, here we go. Bashing men. You see how she slid that in stealthily? She had to mention Rogaine and Viagra, products that are typically used by men. Wow. Boy, these liberals, these folks, they use every opportunity to push their narrative.
So that all the way to other legislation like food stamps don't cover period products as necessities. So I got really interested in period poverty as an issue. And I think in school you're taught that when you find an issue you care about, you find an organization to volunteer with. I was doing the research and couldn't find.
There wasn't an organization.
There wasn't
So you
one.
started one. What is this you have?
So this is August. So I led this nonprofit for about 6 years, working on the advocacy side. I wrote a book about the issue and the menstrual movement. And
I read some of that, by the way, and it was really good.
thank you.
Very eye-opening, especially for men.
Nate Burleson, dude, you a former NFL player. You have transformed into a beta male right before our eyes. This is embarrassing. You really have. You've switched. Did something happen to you, Nate, when you crossed over to go to CBS? Did they castrate you or something? You have become a beta male for sure.
Good. I mean,
Especially for men who have daughters too. And I think
Yes,
it's good that
yes.
men are talking about this.
Yes.
And boys, this is a good conversation for boys. My son is now 35, but when he was 11 or 12, I sent him to the store to buy a product. He's
Yeah.
like, ew.
Yeah.
And that was wrong, Gail, because you don't just send boys to buy those kind of products. I mean, as a man, yes, we need to talk about it, and I've learned more about it since I have become a husband and have a daughter. But you don't expose boys to that stuff. That's wrong. And that goes back to the feminization of boys. Boys don't have to know about this stuff. They really don't. Now, when they become husbands, that's different. But young boys don't have to learn about this stuff. Why does a boy have to learn about period products? Why does a boy have to learn about the cycle of a girl? They have to learn about it from the sense that it's natural. Yes, that is natural, that God has given girls the ability to create life in their womb. Yes, it's God given, but don't have to go into details like this. You ain't got to send your son out to get period products. Come on, Gail.
And I thought that's the wrong reaction.
You said it's the store to go buy.
Some pads.
It's just another product
pads.
scarred for life. Come on.
No, but that's what we have to change.
That's the problem. Yeah, that's the problem. We have to change that.
And they trying to make men women and women men. Now, one thing I will say, even as a husband, it's still, there is stigma there when it comes to dealing with feminine hygiene products. I get it. But as a husband, I have to learn how to adjust. As a husband, I'm not gonna send my son out to go buy products for my wife. Nah, that's not gonna work.
Some pads, if you must know. Yeah.
But August to me is the result of spending years in the space identifying pain points, whether they be around sustainability. Like, I grew up hating pads. Most pads have enough plastic for like 3 to 5 plastic bags, right?
Yeah.
So very scratchy, very uncomfortable, but also wanting a period positive, gender inclusive brand. So we are August, wanting a gender inclusive name. On the back, it says we're here for everyone who menstruates.
Everyone who menstruates. No, women are the only ones who menstruate. And this gender equity, gender neutral stuff has to stop. There are 2 genders, male and female, period. Let me say it again. There are 2 genders, male and female. There's not 100 or so genders. And men cannot have periods. Women do have periods because they have a womb, and it's the cycle of life that God has established. These people are looking to, it is tough. It has to be tough being a liberal today because you have to live in this make-believe fantasy world. It has to be tiring, Living in the real world can be stressful enough, but living in a make-believe fantasy world that you're making up as you go has to be tough. And I refuse to live in that world. I will call it like I see it. I will speak the truth in love, but I will tell you the truth. There are 2 genders, male and female. We're not victims. We are empowered for greatness.